Thank you, Kate. Good morning, everyone. I have a very brief keynote this morning, so I'm going to dive in. Thank you for the introduction, Kate. And I'm going to tell a brief story about Nordic's journey with Zephyr, and specifically about using Zephyr as a foundation for a microcontroller SDK. So I'm sharing this because a couple of themes here are it's possible to combine proprietary software successfully, we believe. And I think there's something to be leveraged from open source software, which is going to become important to the industry and embedded systems. So the story starts with back in 2016, Nordic Semiconductor was about to launch an LTE-M module alongside our existing Bluetooth Low Energy SoCs, which was quite far apart in terms of the application space and the stacks required. And as history would have it, Wi-Fi is next. So the way we looked at this is that we needed to an SDK for the next billion IoT devices with a range of connectivity solutions. It must be modern and future-proof. In other words, something developers want to work with on an ongoing basis, and future-proof in terms of the way it grows with our needs and the requirements of customers and the wireless technologies that we're implementing. Scalable for small and large devices, both in memory and performance. And it must be complete from the driver level to cloud connectivity to be able to provide a whole stack for users to be able to take advantage of it and develop end applications with our SoCs. So a few ways we went about this, or a few themes about how we went about this. Firstly, we went from bare metal to an RTOS. And our previous SDKs did not include an RTOS. Partly because of and bringing that to customers is a process and can be constraining. But the solution needed to scale to more complex system on chips and a wider range of technologies and applications. We knew we had to use an RTOS. We also made the decision to go from multiple SDKs down to one single code base. So we had different SDK technologies, and this meant this step had a couple of huge benefits. Firstly, on reuse and being able to present the same APIs and reuse across all wireless solutions. But also, I can tell you as a product manager and as a manager, an engineering manager, it's a lot more fun to scale a community than it is to scale a group of teams with their own products and a tree of dependencies. So this is really important. The other thing we did was go from in-house development to open development and distribution. And that meant a couple of things. Firstly, embracing open source and collaborating with open source, while also competing with our market-specific knowledge and low-power DNA. The other thing was that everything is on GitHub. So even our proprietary software is up there on GitHub, and every commit, every PR, every review is on GitHub. And as opposed to doing all development in-house and hiding it away until you release a zip file which is versioned out onto your users can actually see the whole process and look at all commits. And that's a little bit liberating in terms of workflow and development model. So the burning question might be, why did we select Zephyr? Well, firstly, we selected an open source RTOS because imposing a commercial solution on customers for our standard SDK was not an option. And proprietary solutions are constraining. So we made that decision fairly early. We selected Zephyr because it stood above the rest in terms of completeness and dependability. Even back in 2016, it had the right base that we thought would scale with our needs. And the approach to configuration, build, and CI was part of that dependability that we really relied on. So this is a bit of a busy slide. But the theme here is that NRF Connect SDK combines Nordic proprietary software and Zephyr. We put it together, we integrate it, we test it, and we deliver it to customers openly. And we put some tools around it to help customers develop products. We support the entire distribution. To make it work, a couple of key points are maintaining clean forks and not having as few downstream patches as possible. Another key aspect, related key aspect, is always contribute upstream first. So we actually contribute up to Zephyr and pull things back down into our SDK. So maintaining compatibility and ongoing compatibility with Zephyr and maintaining clean forks is obviously a benefit to take advantage of what's happening in Zephyr at all times. We also heavily use and spread across our whole SDK, the repo management tool West, a device tree, kconfig, and twister. And this is significant because they're powerful tools, and West in particular, which we contributed to the development of upstream, or majority development of upstream, that allowed us to maintain our clean forks of Zephyr and combine with proprietary software in a well-managed way. So our contributions upstream extend the ecosystem support for our own SDK as well as Zephyr. To date, we've delivered 20 versions of this SDK, and with the version 2.00 tag last week, so I can say that the model is working for us. So to wrap up, our reflections are that I believe that modern embedded IoT solutions will increasingly succeed with open source software. I think they're getting even deeply embedded solutions are becoming complex enough that the collaborative approach around open source software is really the way to solve complex problems. Each upstream contribution is less proprietary code to maintain. That's a big factor. Does it really need to be proprietary? Is this something that's commodity or is it special? That's a question you have to ask yourself over and over again. Building configuration is as important to scale as the software itself. So having a good building configuration system to be able to build for different components and different technologies and deploy on multiple boards is hugely important to be able to scale. That's why adopting a device tree and kconfig across our software was so important. Collaboration can strengthen competitiveness. This might be counterintuitive to some, but being able to collaborate around the hard problems that everyone needs to solve and not do repeat proprietary solutions allows you or frees you up to add value and more strongly compete in other areas. And lastly, the summary is that we feel that Zephyr continues to live up to its vision, and it is a trusted cornerstone of NRF Connect SDK. So again, we feel it's working, and we're 5 years into it now, and I'm happy to say that we think this is something that is successful for us, and certainly I think the use of Zephyr, not only standalone but combined with proprietary software, can be successful for everyone. If you want to read more about this, a blog post from Carlos Kufi goes into a bit more detail. That's all I had this morning. That's the 5-minute walkthrough of our solution there. Thank you.